that presidential candidates must be party members.
I wonder what made them think of that. I wonder what.
I don't know where they got the idea.
Yeah, I don't know what might have prompted that. That's weird. Kind of out of nowhere.
So it's like they're trying to be less inclusive. You know, it's like Bernie's keeps getting them to try to open up. But there's more to the story, actually. Let's watch this. So here, this is from Yahoo Story. The Democratic National Committee Rules and Bylaws Committee adopted a new rule on Friday that would prevent outsiders like Bernie Sanders from seeking the party's nomination in the 2020 presidential race. Isn't it just funny? It's just funny. The Democrats it's like they have LeBron James and they're trying to kick him off their team. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's not the best metaphor because he just lost the championship. It got swept by them. But there's a lot of other reasons. It wasn't his fault. Did you hear he hurt his hand? He was playing hurt. Did you hear that?
I did not hear that. I don't follow the NBA that much.
I heard it. I don't know if that's true. I just heard it. At the time a presidential candidate announces this is the from Yahoo News, at their candidacy publicly, they must publicly affirm that they are a Democrat, the rule says. Each candidate pursuing the Democratic nomination shall affirm in writing to the national chairperson of the Democratic National Committee that they, here it is, A, are a member of the Democratic Party, for starters, buddy. B, because this is written right at Bernie, right?
All right.
B, will accept the Democratic nomination.
Duh.
Hear me? And C, will run and serve as a member of the Democratic Party.
And D, get your cootie shot.
Let me see. Someone's texting me about this very article. Just like I said, people have been texting me. Here comes a text about it. Okay, here. So I'll read. Actually, it's a great text.
Somebody said the Democrats are benching Steph Curry.
Oh, that's better. Right? There you go. Is he on the Golden State Warriors?
Nice work, Big Ed.
There you go. I know I sound like the kind of guy I would have hated when I was younger. This guy who doesn't follow sports. Like, you get to a point where when I moved to LA, I just realized that sports didn't matter. And that they're so silly. But they're fun to watch. I enjoy watching them. I just don't get emotionally invested anymore. Although I did pull for the Cubs. So I'm full of shit as normal.
You just work through it. Right? Yeah. You're like, I don't care. Well, I care a little bit.
Well, I knew it meant a lot to a lot of people. Okay. Oh, these Saturday shows are loose, huh? When I put on the shades. Anyway, Sanders' allies do not believe he would be. But here's the part that a lot of people are missing. This A1. Sanders' allies do not believe he would be affected by the measure thanks to a unique rule in his home state. Sanders, who is currently running for re-election, typically runs in the state's Democratic primary, but declines the party's nomination after winning. The move allows him to fend off Democratic challengers in the state while still running as an independent. That's like a sly move on his part, right? That's super Machiavellian, right?
Yeah, and super cool.
I guess. So they don't, so this rule So here we go. Last month, the Vermont Democratic Party passed a resolution supporting this strategy and proclaiming that Sanders would still be considered a member of the party, quote, for all purposes and entitled to all the rights and privileges that come with such membership at the state and federal level, end quote. That's what the state party said about Bernie. That membership could inoculate him against the DNC's rule change. I would say don't bet on it. Mark Lanabaugh, who was a senior advisor to Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign. I never heard that guy's name. Have you? That's the first time I've heard.
Yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing this name.
He told Yahoo News that he was baffled by the party's decision.
Maybe because he fell asleep since 2016 and just woke up. Maybe it's like that baffles you, really?
Well, here, there's more to the story. Watch this. He says, And I like how he says this. He says, I don't have any worries that Bernie Sanders could meet the criteria to run as a Democrat in 2020. But it always puzzles me that there are some Democrats who want to do this and promote this. I scratch my head and ask, why would they want to make the party more narrow and more exclusive?
Right.
That's, again, why do you think? Because they want to be able to control their party. And then they only give people two choices. And so their donors who really control the party don't want, that's why. We all know why, right? Like, I don't have to explain
I have a
thing.
feeling he was saying it sarcastically,
Yes.
and the journalist just missed it. He was like, I have no idea why they want to be more exclusive. Gee, what
Yeah.
do you think? And they're like, okay.
I scratched
Got it.
my head.
Yeah.
I scratched my, that's why, exactly, yeah, he's saying it sarcastically.
Yeah, he's got to be.
Thank God. Thanks for saving me on that.
Good job, Longabaugh.
Good job, Longabaugh, which is,
Yeah, we're probably mispronouncing his name.
I know we are. It's probably one source, but get this. Story gets better. One source familiar with the discussion told Yahoo News the rules change was not aimed at Sanders and wouldn't necessarily affect him. In fact, the source described it as a step that was designed to make it easier for party leaders to accept one of Sanders' main priorities, the end of superdelegates. So, like, it's according to this source that this Yahoo Newsy people say, is saying that this sounded like a compromise inside the DNC, like, hey, if you agree to this new pledge that everybody has to sign who wants to run as a Democrat, then we'll agree to get rid of superdelegates on the first ballot. And that's so now it almost sounds like they're making it sound like that Bernie's like in on this, or the progressives are in. Like, this is a compromise they agree. Which, if that is the compromise,
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take that.
I
If
want
you
to
get
see
rid
it
of
in writing
superdelegates,
first.
first of all, I want to get rid of superdelegates on every ballot. They want to just wait. We'll get to that part actually right now.
I want to get rid of Tom Perez. But they're just going to
I
replace him
think
with...
Tom Perez. I think he also wants to get rid of Tom Perez. I don't think he wants this job that much. Anyway, so there you go. So there's more to this story. Here's that. Committee members are continuing to discuss the proposal to eliminate superdelegates. They will meet again to make final vote on the proposal in the coming weeks before all proposed changes head to the DNC for a final vote in August. So right now, it seems to I've also seen that the compromise is. So I don't. By the way, that's just according to their source. So we don't know for sure if that's what's really happening, or if this really isn't aimed at Bernie, and if this, so it might not be aimed at. It is aimed at Bernie,
Yeah, I think.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just bad optics. I think it just makes people who are independents allergic to the party. Mm-hmm. And I think it makes them not want to support a party like that. What do you think?
Well, and if there is the superdelegates issue, we got to see something in writing. We got to see that that's part of it. Like, oh, and by the way, we're getting rid of superdelegates.
So, by the way, the idea that we're going to reduce them 60% or whatever,
Not good enough.
that's just we're going to reduce our cheating by 60%.
Yeah.
That's almost more than half, Jimmy. Why are you going to be so purist on the cheating? I wasn't allowed to cheat 30% when I was in school. You could cheat just 30% on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
it's never been.
Thanks, because that's all I really need. How much more cheating do you guys need?
Just enough to get an election.
yeah.
Just enough.
So, you know how my theory is, and it's not my theory. It's a theory I subscribe to. Is that there needs to be a third party, probably a fourth party, because what happened last time in the primary was that after they sufficiently cheated the progressives out of the candidate that the country really wanted and could have beat Trump, after they did that, that was their first order of business, was to kill the representative of the working class. And once that was accomplished, they went to the right. They didn't come out and reach out like, we did cheat you and smash you, but we'll make Bernie vice president. which would have guaranteed that they would have won. Mm-hmm. They picked Tim Kaine, someone who inspired absolutely no one, who was a corporatist tool, who's a right-to-work guy. He was the worst, to the right of Hillary. So,
well, Jimmy, in fairness, he did inspire one person. He inspired Mike Pence.
That's right.
Mike Pence was like, hey, I'm not so bad at debating after all.
That's right.
I won one.
He made Mike Pence look likable.
Yeah.
So if the whole point is you accept that the Democratic Party, it's always going to come down to two. Well, the way you influence them, I subscribe to the idea that all major changes have come from third parties, and then that the major party either absorbs the idea. You know, when Lincoln became president, the Republican Party was a regional party, and so that's just so we all agree on outcomes. We just have differences of strategy, and for whatever reason, me advocating this strategy, which to me just makes more sense, that the way that if Bernie was running third party, he's the most. If him, Dulcie, and Nina Turner decided to start a third party and try to coalesce, the Greens and the DSA and everybody on the left into a third party, I think he would be polling probably 15-20% at least. Let's just go 10. Let's go crazy low number. The most popular politician in the country would be polling would be polling at 10%. Well, now the Democrats can't ignore that. Like if the Greens were polling at 10%, they couldn't. The Democrats would actually have to negotiate for their votes. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, because we can't win without you. Like this is what they did. I'm just going off recent history, what they've done, right? So now they go, we got you. Where are you going to go? Well, if you can't win without them, you have to make concessions, and everybody can see if you are making concessions or not. If you put a third party person as your vice president or what now, so that's how you get. To me, it's obvious that that's the closest we're going to get to a revolution, and that working inside the Democratic Party is incrementalism, and that's not revolution, which is what's needed. These are dire, drastic times. Pretty soon global warming is going to be irreversible, which we all know it's going to happen anyway. As a species, we're not getting ourselves. We can't even get fucking corruption out of the Democratic Party. We can't even get the party of the people and the workers to represent the people and the workers.
Well, because the party's set up that way. I mean, that's the thing. Like people make the argument, well, the structure's there, Yeah, but the structure's set up against you.
Yeah, and
so it's kind of like, hey, let's run into this burning building because at least it's a building. Well, why don't we just build a new building? I think it might be time to build a new building. And
again, it's when people say that you just can't do it, you just can't have, how hard it is to have a third party or a fourth party. You just can't do it. When people say that, to me, it sounds exactly like the people who would say you can't have a Medicare for all. Come on, who's going to pay for that? You can't have health care. You can't have free college. Who's going to pay for that? That sounds like you can't have what the rest of the fucking world has. All other countries have great 3, 4, 5 parties. People are texting me parts of the article I just. So I won't say who this is from. The DNC is pretending that this new rule is a step in the superdelegate reform process. Oh, really? But this is from my source. This is my, Yahoo News has their source. This is my source, and I can't tell you who it is. But it has nothing to do with it. So okay, because they're fooled. That's what it looks like to me. So I'm fooled. So the articles say that RBC passed this rule because it would help build support among DNC members for superdelegate reform. Yes, that's what I just reported. That's true. Okay. It will help build support among the DNC members by giving them yet another way to block Bernie in 2020. Bernie's people have been really taken aback by this. They didn't expect or want it. Oh, okay. So we're getting conflicting reports from sources. Yahoo News' source is one source. My source is another source. The DNC is making this look like it's insignificant because Bernie can just become a Democrat before running, but they aren't mentioning the good standing provisions that led the DNC led to the DNC block 2020 candidates if they judge that they have been faithful to the party.
Wow, that doesn't sound mafia-like at all.
That sounds like Nazis, right? That sounds like Stalin.
We don't know if you've been faithful enough.
Have you, right? That sounds like Stalin.
Have you always been faithful,
to the party?
when you were in college, did you dabble somewhere else?
Or not, or whether they are not been faithful to the party or a Democrat or not, which they could define as having been a Democrat for 2 years prior as a condition to run. Okay. Or not having spoken, or not having spoken against the party, or having given some amount of money to the party, or having shared your email list with the party. They can define who is allowed to run however they want.
Can I ask a question? Why does anybody have to share their email list since, in fact, we know it seems like everybody's hacking into everybody's business anyways?
So it is valuable, very valuable. So this article in Politico quotes Mark Lanabaugh, the guy we were just quoting in the Yahoo News article, and he is quoted as saying that he was stunned by this and, quote, do they really want Bernie and millions outside the party? So again, we thought he's saying it sarcastically. Yes, it's obvious that, because then they have also nowhere to go. I mean, Hillary Clinton would have never, if there were one other viable candidate. I mean, come on. Anyway, yes, this is how they control. This is how they control things. They make it a binary choice. Where else are you going to go? It's like my bit I do about how elections work in Russia, right? And it's exactly. Where are you going to go? And that's exactly their strategy. It's been their strategy since Bill Clinton. Where else are you going to go? And Nancy Pelosi just endorsed pay-go, right? Which means an end to anything that the Democrats want to do.
Mm-hmm. And it gives them an easy out.
And it's an easy out.
Of supporting any progressive policies.
Right. Exactly, Ron. So they're signaling right all over the place. They are not... But this idea that they heard the message from Bernie, so what I'm hearing, so according to what I'm hearing from my source is contradicting the source to Yahoo News. I'm going to trust my source more. That this is the DNC fucking around more and just doing power grabs. And by the way, they haven't voted on the acceptance of the reduction of superdelegates, or if they're going to have them on the first ballot or the second ballot. They haven't. That hasn't been cemented. There's one more vote for that. Mm-hmm. So they might say, no, we're going to keep our super delegates and you guys can go pound sand. Where else are you going to go?
And that's just about the reduction.
Right.
So why would you believe that, like, oh, no, now they're talking about elimination. They're not even sold on reduction, but they're totally talking elimination if we do this whole Democrat to run in 2020 thing. I find it hard to believe. I'd need to see something in writing.
Mm-hmm. 2 years later, Michelle Obama is still going out in public in front of roomfuls of women, telling women there's something wrong with their brains, and they got to get their mind right and start voting for the Democrat. Wow, what an inspiring... If that doesn't get you off the couch on election day, maybe that and a billionaire telling you can't have shit will get you inspired, huh?
Those are some big uns. Yeah.
Wow.
The new motto should be, I'm with her because Michelle told me to be.
Because I got my mind right. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so I'm going to go with...
I'm with her and I'm sorry.
I'm going to go with our interpretation is varying differently from the Yahoo News interpretation, which... so there you go. Okay. Do they really want Bernie and millions outside the party? Yes. Because they've sufficiently shamed now Jill Stein as a Russian, right? That was their big smear. And somehow she's working with the Russians, and they engineered her getting 0.0% of the vote. How did they do that, those Russians? They're so evil.
Yeah, and they made her fund a trip by herself and then talk about peace.
Then talk about peace.
All that.
Yeah. It's amazing how propaganda works. It is amazing to watch it happen.
What's the long game? You know, I mean, that was
Yeah.
all to trick us.
That was the rush. Oh yeah. So it couldn't be the $700 billion military industrial complex budget that needs to be protected by all this propaganda. Could it be that? Isn't it amazing that now didn't Barack Obama, when he was it in the NDAA when he signed that repealed habeas corpus, was it also that allowed our own government to do propaganda on us again? Remember that? Mm-hmm. Right? Was that in there? Right? It was. I think it was in there, but it definitely happened during his administration. So now the government can just. And we saw the former editor of Time, admit on this show that he's all for governments doing propaganda on their people. That's how you get stuff done. It's called writing history.
The people.
That's what he said.
The people that think Jill Stein is an agent of Russia, to me, they're like the equivalent of the creationists of political thinkers. Like, they're just like, well, how do you explain it? I mean, she was just sitting at a table. She was talking about peace. She went there on her own dime. Like, that was all to trick us. Just like fossils. It's there to throw us off.
Yeah. So, okay, Democrats, way to go. Way to go, looking good. There we go. Looking good. They could now say he hasn't been faithful. And
how creepy and Orwellian does that sound?
Right?
I mean, just it's almost like if he's like, you know, the Democrats have really lost the way. This face is going to appear in his house. Like, you're not being faithful. You can't run in 2020. Thought police are coming now.
You're not being faithful.
So creepy.
You cannot run in 2020. Yeah. Inside the party. And since we've convinced everyone you could never set up the infrastructure for another party or even a fourth one, there isn't one available, and there never will be. It's called mind control. I don't get how people can be conned by that. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is July 1st in Portland, Oregon, and July 15th in Chicago, Illinois. We're doing a live show July 15th in Chicago, Illinois. Go to a link right there for all the tickets to all the live Jimmy Dore shows. Plus, if you can help become a premium member, we give you hours of bonus material every week. Become a patron or a premium member. And if you're on Steam It, we're steaming it right now. Plus, every Saturday, we do a live Super Solid Chat Saturday where it's a live stream and you can ask us questions and we'll answer them back. Every Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks for your support.